Hey everyone, RogueGold here, welcome back to the Division 2. A bit more of a laid-back video today, but we're jumping into some heroic countdown. I've got modifiers enabled, and that is actually what I want to discuss here. We're getting towards the back half of the season here, which in turn means that our time with the point-blank modifier and this season's set of modifiers overall is coming to a close, because if you don't remember or you weren't aware to begin with, every new season of the Division 2 from here on out under Seasons 2.0, we are going to be getting brand new modifiers, brand new themes overall, and which modifiers we might see next season and beyond is what I mainly want to discuss in this video. So yeah, Heroic Countdown has kind of become my new playground, just to run in there with a fully min-max modifier build and just see how much carnage I can inflict. In case you're curious to see the build, here it is. I'll link the video in the description that I showed this off in. Additionally, for the modifier specifically, I'm using All Out, Drawback, Persistence, and Liability. But yeah, in this kind of downtime while we're waiting for news on next season and its PTS, I've gotten to thinking about what we might see from the next set of modifiers coming to the game. And largely, this is fueled by a statement that was actually made by the Division 2's creative director on the launch stream for this season and title update. So I want to play that clip quickly, and then we'll come back and I'll give you some more of my thoughts.
Talking about other season modifiers, I don't know if we really want to go into all the details about reciting different
Let me tell you about the next seasons now. No, but it's. I think what's important is again to really be clear that those modifiers, this set of modifiers, will change with every season. And for this season, we on purpose we went with something, even though it's not necessarily always easy to explain. We actually on purpose went with something that's maybe a bit more simplistic because we want to, try the system and with a proposition that is fairly easy to wrap your head around. The further I am from an enemy, the more damage I do. That's the simple fantasy here. And then we give you control and agency by giving you sets of modifiers that you can come to, take and slot on top of that to the global modifier. But this, the premise, the promise of it, we wanted to have something that was pretty straightforward. As we move forward from season to season, we're going to experiment with very different things. And we already have, a list of ideas on what kind of modifiers we want to do for future seasons. And we have some ideas that are also a bit, simplistic but exciting. And then we have some ideas that are maybe a bit more out there and a bit more crazy. So we're going to be trying with different formulas from one season to the next. And, we'll find our voice eventually. We'll find what is it that resonates with the most people.
Alright, so some interesting things stated there by Yannick indeed. What sticks out the most to me is the distinction he makes between how their future ideas for modifiers and how they think about the modifiers overall. There are some ideas that they view as a bit more simplistic, like what we have this season dealing with range. Whereas, he says some of the ideas that they have moving forward are definitely a bit more intricate and complex. Now, in terms of thinking about what simplistic ideas they might pursue in the future, I think there are definitely categories that we can probably guess that we will see them do at some point. Maybe we'll get a season's modifier theme focusing around headshots. There certainly is a precedent there with like the Outbreak Global event back from the Division 1 being a fan favorite. I could totally see them doing stuff there. I also think it would be interesting to see a season where they focus on like one weapon class specifically, maybe like the global modifier for one season sees SMGs getting big inherent bonuses, like any SMG you use suddenly gets a mag size increase, it gets extra RPM. That could definitely be kind of fun, and then you have the passive and active mods to take that even further and augment it. And as far as next season specifically, like what our modifiers are going to be when your Season 3 begins, it's tough to gauge whether or not they might want to go for something a bit more intricate or keep it simplistic. He said this season they wanted to keep it that way because this is the first one that we're seeing. They wanted to kind of ease everybody into the new system and ideas. Assumedly, we're going to have even more players around next season for the launch of Brooklyn, and so with that new playground, are they going to want to go more intricate? Do they want to keep things a bit more simplistic to, again, keep that kind of larger audience a bit more comprehending what's going on? I'm not sure. We'll see. But whether or not next season is the time in which we get it, what I really wanted to kind of talk about and get some of your guys' thoughts on is what we might see as far as the more intricate and complex ideas that they have cooking. Now, one of my favorite parts of doing discussion videos like these is that I get to hear your guys' thoughts and ideas on whatever we're talking about. I'm only one person, and my brain thinks in a particular way. There's no way that I would be able to come up with all of the various ideas that are out there or that you all could. So yeah, that's always one of my favorite things, is to go into the comments on these videos and see what y'all have come up with, and I hope that will persist in this one today. The one idea that I have had, and that I would definitely be curious to get your guys' reactions to, is what if there was a season, theme, and modifier set that revolved around like light and darkness? Now, and off the bat, that doesn't really sound like something, you know, Division related, and maybe it is a bit more out there, like Yannick said. But what I'm imagining is something maybe similar to the Polarity Switch Global event, where, you know, in that one you can switch between the positive and negative charges. What if, through some form of gameplay, there was a way for both your agent and or the enemies to get different charges of light and darkness, and depending on what you have and what the enemies have, that would then create different interactions in gameplay. Maybe when the enemies have darkness charges, they get the blind status effect, and you then deal more damage to enemies who are blinded. Or maybe when you have a light charge, that gives you an increase to movement speed, damage, stuff like that. I will say the persistence modifier that I'm using on this setup right now is one of my favorite parts of this season. I love the movement speed increase stuff, like I'm doing right now, just zooming around. Unfortunately, it's unlikely that we're going to see like an entire season themed around that, because the older consoles have trouble keeping up with like permanent speed increases, as we've seen happen historically within the franchise. Anyway, I digress. Obviously, that light and darkness idea is far from fully fleshed out, and there's a ton of consideration that has to go into this stuff to make a full set of active modifiers and passive ones to go alongside the base global increase and change. But like I said, that's why I really wanted to kind of have this discussion, is because there are a ton of different directions that they could take this stuff in the future, and I would certainly be very curious to get some of your guys' ideas on what those things might be. And I know the modifier system hasn't been everybody's favorite, and maybe some people are not looking forward to getting new ones every season. As you can see right here, I'm slaying through Heroic Countdown, and that is pretty fun, so I've definitely enjoyed the inclusion of modifiers in the game. I still have my quarrels with overall difficulty in this game and how it seems to be going down and down over time, but if the modifiers give us new ways to play and interact with the game on a fundamental level every new season, I do think that is a good way to try and keep things a bit more fresh. So, like I said, whether or not next season is going to go a bit more complex or they keep it more simplistic for that greater amount of players that we're likely going to get in the game for the DLC, I'm excited to see where they go with it in the future. And as stated, I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this overall topic. So I turn things over to you all. Whether you are a fan of the modifier system as it is in the game right now, or the current set, that is, or you're hoping to see something very different from it in future seasons. If you were a developer, if it were up to you, what would your dream set of modifiers be that you would want to see in a future season of The Division 2? Whether or not they fall into the more simplistic or intricate concept. Wow. Well, that's tough. That just goes to show you that you can never take things too carefully around a hunter. Anyways, folks, whatever your thoughts, reactions, ideas are on this topic, would love to hear about it down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Out.